someone who listens when no one else listens, someone who forgives when others seek revenge, someone who gives love even when they receive pain. Most people look at such a person and think they can be taken for granted. They think they can push boundaries, ignore respect, and continue taking without giving anything back. One of the most important lessons a person can learn is that peace is not something you find. Peace is something you protect. Many people spend their lives searching for peace in places where it cannot survive. They look for it in the approval of others. They look for it in relationships that constantly create confusion. They look for it in the opinions of people who do not even understand their journey. Then they wonder why they feel exhausted, overwhelmed, and disconnected from themselves. The truth is simple. When you allow everyone access to your mind, your emotions, and your energy, you slowly lose the ability to hear your own inner voice. An empath experiences this more deeply than most people. Because when you naturally care about others, you often carry burdens that were never yours to carry. You feel responsible for everyone's happiness. You try to solve problems that belong to other people. You absorb their sadness, their frustration, their anger, and their fears. At first, it feels like compassion. It feels like love. It feels like the right thing to do. But there is a difference between helping someone and carrying them. There is a difference between supporting someone and sacrificing yourself. Many people do not recognize this difference until they reach a point of complete exhaustion. They wake up one day feeling empty, wondering where their energy has gone. They realize they have spent so much time taking care of everyone else that they forgot to take care of themselves. Awakening. This is why protecting your inner peace is not selfish. It is necessary. Imagine a beautiful garden. If you leave the gate open all day, anyone can enter. Some people will appreciate the beauty. Some will respect the space. But others will walk carelessly across the flowers, damage what took years to grow, and leave without any concern for the consequences. Your mind is the same, your heart is the same. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your energy. Wisdom is knowing who belongs inside your garden and who does not. Many people fear setting boundaries because they worry about disappointing others. They worry that saying no will make them appear unkind. They worry that protecting themselves will make them seem distant. Yet every time you betray your own needs to satisfy someone else's expectations, you create conflict within yourself. Peace disappears whenever you abandon your own truth. The strongest people understand that boundaries are not walls, they are doors. You decide who enters. You decide how long they stay. You decide what behavior you will accept. And you decide when it is time to close the door. This is not an act of anger. It is an act of self-respect. Some people will not understand your boundaries because they benefited from your lack of them. When you begin protecting your peace, certain people may become uncomfortable. They may accuse you of changing. They may question your decisions. They may try to make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. Do not be distracted by this. Growth often makes unhealthy connections uncomfortable. When you become stronger, people who relied on your weakness must adjust. When you become clear, people who thrived on confusion lose their influence. When you become peaceful, chaos no longer has a place in your life. The empath must learn that not every battle deserves attention. Not every criticism deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding requires an explanation. Sometimes the most powerful action is silence. Sometimes the most powerful action is walking away. There is incredible strength in refusing to engage with negativity. There is incredible freedom in no longer needing everyone to understand you. The moment you stop trying to convince others of your value, you begin to experience true peace. You realize that your worth was never dependent on their recognition. It was always within you. A calm mind sees opportunities where a restless mind sees obstacles. A peaceful heart makes better decisions than an anxious heart. A person who protects their inner peace becomes more focused, more resilient, and more connected to their purpose. This does not mean life becomes easy. Challenges will still come, Disappointments will still appear. People will still test your patience, but instead of being controlled by every external situation, you remain centered within yourself. You stop reacting to everything. You start responding with wisdom, and that changes everything. Because true power is not found in controlling the world around you. Guard your peace, because the quality of your life will always reflect the quality of what you allow into your mind, your heart, and your spirit. One of the greatest misunderstandings in this world is the belief that kindness is weakness. People often look at a gentle person and assume they are easy to manipulate. They see patience and mistake it for passivity. They see compassion and mistake it for dependence. They see understanding and mistake it for a lack of strength. But they fail to understand what true strength really is. Anyone can react with anger. Anyone can raise their voice. Anyone can become aggressive when life does not go their way. Yet it takes a completely different level of power to remain calm when you have every reason to be upset. It takes discipline to choose understanding when judgment would be easier. It takes courage to keep your heart open after it has been hurt. This is the strength of the empath. The empath feels deeply, but they do not allow every feeling to control them. They care deeply, but their care is not a sign of weakness. It is evidence of emotional strength. It shows an ability to remain connected to humanity in a world where many people have become disconnected from themselves. Unfortunately, some people take kindness for granted. They assume the empath will always forgive. They assume the empath will always stay. They assume the empath will continue giving no matter how little they receive in return. And because of these assumptions, they begin to act carelessly. They stop showing appreciation. They stop showing respect. They stop recognizing the value of the person standing in front of them. What they do not realize is that kindness is a choice. Every act of patience is a choice. Every act of understanding is a choice. Every act of forgiveness is a choice. The empath is not kind because they are incapable of being strong. The empath is kind because they are strong enough to choose kindness. There is a huge difference. A weak person is controlled by circumstances. A strong person chooses their response despite circumstances. Think about the people who have hurt you in life. Think about the moments when you were disappointed, betrayed, ignored, or misunderstood. In those moments, it would have been easy to become bitter. It would have been easy to build walls around your heart. It would have been easy to stop trusting everyone. Yet choosing growth instead of bitterness requires far more strength than holding on to resentment. Many people carry anger for years. They replay old conversations. They relive old wounds. They allow the past to steal their present. The empath understands something important. Pain is a teacher, but it should never become a permanent home. This does not mean allowing people to continue hurting you. It means refusing to let their actions transform you into someone you were never meant to become. Kindness becomes powerful when it is guided by wisdom. Without wisdom, kindness can become self-sacrifice. Without wisdom, kindness can become people-pleasing. Without wisdom, kindness can become a way of avoiding conflict. But when wisdom and kindness work together, they create true strength. Then your kindness is no longer available to everyone. It is given with awareness. It is offered with intention. It is protected by healthy boundaries. And many people believe strength means becoming harder. They believe strength means caring less. They believe strength means creating emotional distance from everyone around them. Yet some of the strongest individuals in the world possess remarkable compassion. They understand suffering because they have experienced it. They understand pain because they have survived it. They understand human struggle because they have walked through their own darkness. As a result, they develop empathy instead of arrogance. They develop patience instead of judgment. They develop wisdom instead of pride. This is why true strength often appears quiet. It does not need attention. It does not need recognition. It does not need to prove itself. A mountain does not announce its strength. The ocean does not announce its depth in the same way a truly strong person does not constantly seek validation. Their character speaks for itself. If you are naturally kind, never allow anyone to convince you that your kindness is a flaw. You never believe that compassion makes you weak. Never believe that caring deeply is something you should hide. The world already has enough anger. The world already has enough division. The world already has enough people who choose judgment before understanding. What the world needs is more people who can remain strong without becoming cruel. More people who can remain confident without becoming arrogant. More people who can remain compassionate without abandoning themselves. The goal is not to stop being kind. The goal is to become wise enough to recognize where your kindness belongs. But with boundaries, your energy remains balanced, your mind remains clear. Your heart remains open without becoming vulnerable to constant harm. The strongest people are not those who never say no. Kate, the strongest people are those who know exactly when no is necessary. They understand that every yes costs something. It costs time, it costs energy, it costs attention. And because these resources are limited, they choose carefully where to invest them. Okay. As you continue growing, you will discover that boundaries are not barriers to connection. They are foundations for healthy connection. They teach others how to treat you. They teach you how to respect yourself. And most importantly, they protect the peace, strength, and self-respect that you have worked so hard to build. Yes, because the moment you stop allowing others to define your limits is the moment you begin discovering the true power that has always existed within you. Once you begin protecting your peace and establishing healthy boundaries, another truth starts to reveal itself. It is a truth that many people spend years avoiding because it requires complete honesty with yourself. Self-respect comes first, not because you are more important than everyone else. Not because the world should revolve around you, but because every healthy relationship, every meaningful achievement, and every lasting source of inner peace is built upon the way you value yourself. Many people believe self-respect is something that appears naturally. They think it is simply a feeling of confidence or pride, but self-respect is much deeper than that. And self-respect is the decision to honor your own worth, even when others fail to recognize it. It is the ability to remain loyal to your values when it would be easier to compromise them. It is the courage to walk away from what diminishes you, even when staying feels more comfortable. The challenge is that many people are taught from an early age to seek validation from the outside world. They learn to measure their value through praise, through approval, through attention, through acceptance. And while there is nothing wrong with appreciating encouragement, problems begin when your entire sense of worth depends upon how others see you. Because the opinions of people are constantly changing. One day they support you, the next day they doubt you. One day they admire you, the next day they criticize you. If your self-worth depends on their approval, your peace will always be unstable. You will spend your life chasing something you can never fully control. This is why self-respect must come first. When you respect yourself, you stop begging others to see your value. You stop forcing connections that are not meant to last. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places where you no longer belong. You begin understanding that your value is not created by external recognition. It already exists within you. Many empaths struggle with this lesson because they naturally focus on the needs of others. They become experts at understanding everyone else's emotions while neglecting their own. They become skilled at offering encouragement while silently questioning their own worth. They become comfortable giving love while forgetting they deserve love as well. Over time, this creates an imbalance. You begin treating others with a level of respect that you fail to give yourself. You tolerate behavior that you would never encourage someone else to tolerate. You remain in situations that continually drain your spirit. You accept less than you deserve because you fear losing people. But every time you abandon your own value to keep someone else comfortable, you send a message to yourself. You tell yourself that your needs are less important. You tell yourself that your feelings matter less. You tell yourself that your peace can be sacrificed for the convenience of others. Eventually, these small compromises create deep wounds, not because others failed to respect you, but because you stopped respecting yourself. This is a difficult realization, yet it is also an empowering one. Because the moment you recognize it, you regain control. You stop waiting for others to change. You stop waiting for someone to finally appreciate you. You stop waiting for permission to value yourself. Instead, you make a decision. You decide that your worth is not negotiable. You decide that respect is a requirement, not a reward. You decide that your life deserves to be built upon truth rather than fear. True self-respect often requires uncomfortable choices. Sometimes it means saying no when everyone expects yes. Sometimes it means leaving environments that no longer support your growth. Sometimes it means disappointing people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. And sometimes it means standing alone for a period of time while you rebuild your relationship with yourself. These moments can feel difficult, but growth has never been about choosing what is comfortable. Growth is about choosing what is necessary. The strongest people are not those who never experience doubt. They are those who refuse to let doubt define them. The strongest people are not those who never face rejection. They are those who refuse to let rejection determine their value. When self-respect becomes your foundation, life begins to change. You become more selective with your energy. You become more intentional with your time. You become more confident in your decisions. Not because you believe you are better than others, but because you finally understand your own worth. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to everyone. You no longer chase approval from people who cannot appreciate you. You no longer carry the exhausting burden of constantly seeking acceptance. Instead, you focus on living in alignment with your values. You focus on becoming the person you are capable of becoming. You focus on building a life that reflects who you truly are, and something remarkable happens. And the more you respect yourself, the more others learn to respect you as well, not because you demand it, not because you force it, but because your actions communicate a clear message. They communicate that you know your value. They communicate that you understand your standards. They communicate that your peace, your dignity, and your character are not available for negotiation. This is where real strength begins, not in controlling others, not in seeking constant validation, but in developing a relationship with yourself that remains steady, regardless of external circumstances. Because when self-respect comes first, every other area of your life begins to stand on stronger ground, and no one can take away the value that you already recognize within yourself. When you begin protecting your peace, understanding your worth, and building self-respect, another powerful lesson emerges naturally. It is a lesson that can transform your entire life if you have the courage to embrace it. Stop chasing what drains you. At first, this sounds simple. But for many people, it is one of the hardest things they will ever do. Because human beings often become attached to things that are not good for them. They chase relationships that repeatedly hurt them. They chase approval from people who never offer it. They chase attention from those who barely notice their presence. They chase opportunities that constantly steal their energy while giving very little in return. And somewhere along the way, they begin believing that persistence is always a virtue. But there is a difference between commitment and attachment. There is a difference between perseverance and self-abandonment. Not everything in life is meant to be chased forever. Sometimes the wisest decision is not to run harder. Sometimes the wisest decision is to stop running altogether. An empath often struggles with this lesson because they naturally see potential where others see limitations. They believe people can change. They believe relationships can heal. They believe every problem has a solution if enough effort is invested. These qualities come from a beautiful place. They come from hope. They come from compassion. They come from a genuine desire to see the best in others. But hope becomes dangerous when it blinds you to reality. You cannot build a healthy connection with someone's potential. You can only build it with who they consistently choose to be. Many people spend years waiting for someone to become the person they imagine. Years of excuses, years of disappointment, years of emotional exhaustion, and all the while, life continues moving forward. The painful truth is that some people will never meet you where you stand, not because you are unworthy, not because you have failed, but because they are on a different path. The moment you accept this truth, freedom begins, because freedom is not found in controlling others. Freedom is found in releasing what you cannot control. Think about how much energy is wasted trying to force outcomes, trying to convince someone to value you, trying to prove your worth, trying to earn respect that should be given freely, trying to maintain relationships that survive only because of your effort. This constant chasing creates exhaustion, not physical exhaustion alone, a deeper exhaustion, an exhaustion of the spirit. An exhaustion that slowly steals your joy, your confidence, and your sense of purpose. You wake up thinking about problems that never seem to improve. You spend your days carrying emotional weight that was never yours to carry. You lose focus on your own growth because your attention is trapped in situations that refuse to change. This is why self-awareness is so important. You must learn to ask yourself an honest question. What is this situation giving back to my life? Not from a place of selfishness, but from a place of balance. Healthy relationships involve effort from both sides. Healthy friendships involve mutual respect. Healthy opportunities create growth rather than constant depletion. If something continually drains your energy while providing no meaningful growth, no mutual respect, and no sense of peace, then wisdom requires evaluation. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is not holding on. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is letting go. Many people fear letting go because they confuse it with failure. And they think walking away means they did not try hard enough. They think releasing something means giving up. But letting go is not weakness. In many cases, it is strength. Because letting go requires accepting reality rather than clinging to fantasy. It requires trusting yourself enough to move forward without guarantees. It requires believing that your future holds possibilities beyond what you are leaving behind. The strongest people understand that their energy is one of their most valuable resources. They do not invest it carelessly. They do not allow every distraction to consume their attention. They do not spend years chasing people who repeatedly show them disinterest, disrespect, or indifference. Instead, they will redirect that energy inward, toward healing, toward learning, toward personal growth, toward purpose. And this is where life begins to change. The energy once spent chasing validation becomes confidence. The energy once spent chasing acceptance becomes self-respect. The energy once spent chasing unhealthy connections becomes personal transformation. You begin discovering parts of yourself that were hidden beneath emotional exhaustion. You begin reconnecting with dreams you neglected. You begin creating a life that feels aligned with your values rather than dependent upon someone else's approval. And this does not mean becoming indifferent. It does not mean closing your heart. It does not mean giving up on people at the first sign of difficulty. It simply means recognizing the difference between what deserves your effort and what only consumes it. The river does not chase every stone in its path. It continues flowing toward the ocean. In the same way, your life was never meant to become trapped by every obstacle. every disappointment, or every person unwilling to appreciate your value. Your life was meant to move forward. Yeah. And the moment you stop chasing what drains you is the moment you finally have the energy to pursue what truly helps you grow. Many people think letting go means you no longer care. They think it means abandoning love. Okay? They think it means pretending something never mattered. But true letting go is none of these things. True letting go means accepting reality without resistance. It means acknowledging that some chapters have ended. It means understanding that not everything is meant to stay forever. Some people enter your life to teach you. Some experiences enter your life to strengthen you. Some challenges enter your life to awaken you. Their purpose is fulfilled, and then it is time to continue the journey. The difficulty is that certainty feels comfortable. Even painful situations can become familiar. Like, people often stay connected to what hurts them because the unknown feels more frightening than the discomfort they already know. But growth never lives inside comfort. Growth lives beyond it. Every major transformation requires stepping into uncertainty. Every meaningful change requires leaving something behind. When you decide to become stronger, you must let go of habits that weaken you. When you decide to build peace, you must let go of patterns that create chaos. When you decide to respect yourself, you must let go of situations that diminish your value. This process is not always easy. In fact, it can be deeply emotional. There may be sadness. There may be disappointment. There may be moments when you question whether you are making the right choice. That is normal. Growth often feels uncomfortable because it requires you to release what is familiar before you fully experience what is possible. The strongest people are not those who avoid this discomfort. They are those who move through it with courage. They understand that every ending creates space for a new beginning. They understand that every release creates room for something better aligned with their future. And perhaps most importantly, they understand that growth is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more fully yourself. Every fear you release reveals more courage. Every unhealthy attachment you release reveals more freedom. Every false belief you release reveals more truth. Little by little, you begin uncovering the person you were always meant to become. A person who is no longer controlled by the past. A person who is no longer trapped by old wounds. A person who no longer measures life by what was lost. Instead, you begin focusing on what can still be created. You begin focusing on possibilities rather than regrets. You begin focusing on the present moment rather than yesterday's pain, and this shift changes everything. Because growth is not found in holding tighter to what is ending. Growth is found in trusting yourself enough to release it. See, the moment you stop clinging to what no longer serves your highest good is the moment life creates space for the peace, strength, wisdom, and purpose that have been waiting for you all along. After protecting your peace, understanding that kindness is not weakness, creating healthy boundaries, placing self-respect first, stopping the chase for what drains you, and learning to let go of what no longer serves your growth, you arrive at the final lesson. Know your true worth. This sounds simple, yet it is one of the most important discoveries a person can make in an entire lifetime. Look, many people move through life without ever fully understanding their value. They spend years looking outward for answers that can only be found within. They search for proof of their worth in relationships, achievements, possessions, titles, and the opinions of others. For a moment, these things may provide satisfaction. For a moment, they may create the feeling of being important. But eventually, life reveals a deeper truth. Anything that gives you value can also take it away if your worth depends entirely upon it. If your worth depends on praise, criticism will destroy your confidence. If your worth depends on success, failure will make you question yourself. If your worth depends on another person's approval, rejection will feel unbearable. This is why true worth must come from a deeper place. It must come from understanding who you are beneath all external circumstances. The empath often struggles with this lesson because they naturally focus on giving value to others. They encourage people. They support people. They comfort people. They help people recognize their strengths. Yet many times they forget to recognize their own. They become so focused on seeing the light in others that they overlook the light within themselves. As a result, they begin accepting treatment that does not reflect their value. They tolerate disrespect. They excuse unhealthy behavior. They remain in situations that continually diminish their spirit, not because they lack worth, but because they have temporarily forgotten it. The world has a way of testing this lesson repeatedly. There will always be people who misunderstand you. There will always be people who underestimate you. There will always be people who fail to appreciate what you bring into their lives. But their inability to recognize your value does not decrease your value. A diamond remains valuable even when someone mistakes it for an ordinary stone. The truth of its nature never changes. The same is true for you. Your worth is not determined by who stays. It is not determined by who leaves. It is not determined by who applauds you or who criticizes you. Your worth exists before any of those things, and it remains long after they are gone. Knowing your true worth changes the way you move through life. You stop chasing people who repeatedly show you they do not value your presence. You stop shrinking yourself to make others feel comfortable. You stop settling for less than what aligns with your standards. Not because you become arrogant, not because you believe you are superior, but because you finally understand the difference between confidence and insecurity. An insecure person constantly seeks validation. A confident person understands their value without needing constant confirmation. This confidence is quiet. It does not demand attention. It does not seek approval. It simply exists, like a mountain that remains steady regardless of the weather around it. Life becomes easier when your worth is rooted within yourself. Challenges still come. Disappointments still happen. Loss still occurs. But these experiences no longer define your identity. You no longer see failure as evidence that you are not enough. You no longer see rejection as proof that you are unworthy. Instead, you see them as experiences, lessons, opportunities for growth. You begin understanding that every person has unique value. Every person carries unique gifts. Every person has a purpose that cannot be fulfilled by anyone else. Comparison then loses its power. One of the greatest thieves of happiness is comparison. People compare their success, their appearance, their relationships, their achievements, and in doing so, they often overlook the incredible value already present within their own lives. The moment you truly know your worth, comparison begins to disappear. You stop competing with others. You start competing with the person you were yesterday. You focus on growth rather than validation. You focus on progress rather than perfection. You focus on becoming the highest version of yourself. This is where genuine freedom begins, because freedom is not having everyone admire you. Freedom is not achieving perfection. Freedom is not controlling how others see you. Freedom is living in alignment with your truth regardless of how others respond. The empath who understands their worth becomes incredibly powerful, not because they stop caring, but because they stop abandoning themselves. They continue loving, they continue helping, they continue showing compassion. But they do so from a place of strength rather than desperation, from a place of confidence rather than fear, from a place of self-respect rather than self-sacrifice. And when this transformation happens, something remarkable occurs. The people who once took them for granted can no longer control their emotions. The situations that once drained their energy lose their influence. The fears that once held them back begin to fade. Because a person who knows their worth is no longer searching for permission to exist fully. They no longer wait for the world to tell them who they are. They already know. And that knowledge becomes a source of strength that no rejection can weaken, no disappointment can destroy, and no opinion can take away. Because the greatest power you will ever possess is the unshakable understanding that your value has been within you all along. As we come to the end of this journey, remember that the purpose of these lessons was never to change who you are. The purpose was to help you remember who you have always been. Okay? If you are an empath, your sensitivity is not a burden. Your compassion is not a flaw. Your ability to care deeply is not something that needs to be hidden. These qualities are gifts. But every gift becomes truly powerful when it is protected by wisdom. Protect your inner peace. Understand that kindness is not weakness. Create boundaries that honor your well-being. Place self-respect above the need for approval. But trust the process. Every challenge is shaping you. Every lesson is strengthening you. Every step forward is bringing you closer to the person you are meant to become. Walk with confidence. Ekinos, walk with patience, walk with purpose, and never allow anyone to convince you that your value depends on their ability to recognize it. Your worth is not something you earn, it is something you remember. May you move forward with a peaceful mind, a strong heart, and an unshakable belief in yourself. May you attract people who respect your energy, appreciate your presence, and support your growth. May you continue becoming wiser, stronger, and more aligned with your true purpose each day. Good luck on your journey. May your path be filled with clarity, courage, inner peace, and meaningful growth. Thank you for spending this time here. Thank you for listening. And most importantly, thank you for choosing to invest in your own growth and transformation. Take care of yourself, trust your journey, and keep moving forward. Thank you, and may peace always walk beside you. Dana, you know?